Hi, my name is Daniel Myers, and in this episode of Powered by Snowflake, I'm excited to be talking with the company Copado, and more specifically, Senior Director of Product Management, Gloria. Gloria, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Daniel.
Great. Well, so one of the first things that I want to kick off today is, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
So my name is Gloria. I'm based out of Atlanta. My background really comes from the Salesforce SI space. So working with a lot of the larger partners to really propel their digital transformation with the Salesforce platform. I've spent a lot of time as a business architect, a functional architect. And so data is a really big topic for me, and using data to make those decisions earlier on when you're in your digital transformation, beginning with planning and managing your entire value stream portfolio is really near and dear to my heart.
That's great. That's great. So tell me a little bit more about, Copado and what does Copado do and things like that.
Yeah, so Copado is the leading DevOps platform enabling the world's largest digital transformations on Salesforce. So we accelerate Salesforce deployments, we simplify the release process, and increase developer productivity. And then that in turn maximizes your return on cloud investments. So a little bit about what Copado offers. Our Copado DevOps 360 platform includes agile planning, continuous delivery, automated testing, and compliance. And we're backed by Insight Ventures, as well as Salesforce Ventures, and have more than 500 of the world's largest digitally transformed companies that are running on Copado. And that includes companies like Boston Scientific, Coca-Cola, Fairtrade, Linde, Mass Mutual, Shell, and Schneider Electric. So Copado processes over about 50 million DevOps transactions per month, and we're rated with 100% score on the Salesforce App Exchange.
That's awesome. Those are some pretty cool names. So what stage company are you? And if somebody wants to learn more about your company, where should they go?
So we're right now in a Series B stage. You can find us on Crunchbase if you want more information on our investors and where we are at in terms of our series. And we're about 250 employees today, and we're looking to scale up to 350 by the end of this year.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So in your specific role at Copado, what are some of the key initiatives and goals that you have?
So my specific role from the perspective of product is really building a world-class analytics product for the DevOps ecosystem. This is a really new space when we talk about analytics, data, and bringing that into DevOps. My goal is really to bring together data from the planning phase when you're building, checking things in, committing things right through the CLI, testing with automated testing, and then once you release to a production org, being able to give our customers a 360-degree view into their DevOps lifecycle with those analytics. So one of my major initiatives this year is to utilize the Snowflake platform along with Tableau and Salesforce to give our customers the insight they need to accelerate their digital transformation with Copado.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a lot about the product. Can we see a demo today?
Yes, absolutely. We can absolutely see a demo, and we have Kevin Blessum with us here today, who's actually going to kick that off. So Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Hey there, I'm Kevin Blessum, Director of Sales Engineering here at Copado, and I'm happy to be here supporting and providing you with a quick demo of Copado. So I'll start here in Copado, and the first thing that I'll mention is that this is a native application to Salesforce.com, and so everything that I'm going to move through here is built on Salesforce. The end users are actually interfacing with Copado from inside of the Salesforce UI. And the screen that we're on right now, this is the user story. Our application and our platform is all about delivering the proper business value up through the pipeline and sandboxes and so on to production. And our container or our package that serves as the vehicle of deploying those changes is the user story record here. And so this user story, right, it's really serving as the ideation of what the business users want. And as we have agile planning tools baked into Copado, these could be created from directly in Copado or pulled over from tools like Jira, Rally, Azure Boards, etc. And the user story is going to have all the relevant information that's informing the developers and admins of their work, of this change request that they need to build out. And up top, we can see where this work is going to originally be built in the Dev1 sandbox, and then the flow of environments that it's going to be deployed up through on its way to production. And this flow here is actually pulled from the pipeline manager. And to give you a look at that pipeline manager, every single customer of ours creates and customizes their own unique pipeline, their own set of environments. This is where you can perform various deployments and orchestrate releases in this type of a UI from all these different sandboxes. And along the way, we're going to be accounting for various types of testing that needs to take place. We're going to be automating Git operations in the version control system, so various branches that have to be built out, commits, and so on, and merges. And then, of course, all this information is being collected and then pumped in via Snowflake to dashboards so that really valuable and important metrics are available at the fingertips of our customers so that they can make more informed decisions as a business. We found that one of the biggest gaps that folks have in the Salesforce DevOps space is really being able to adequately measure what they're doing as a DevOps team and improve on that basis. So I'll come back to this user story then. And let's say that I, as an admin or a developer, had jumped into my Dev1 sandbox and made all my changes. I then want to link those changes to this user story. And to do that, I can click on the Commit Changes button, and that's going to pop me over to this screen here, where I can see all of the metadata that's in my Dev1 sandbox. And I can use these various columns to search, sort, and filter, and find the work that I made changes to very easily. So maybe I want to sort by what was modified most recently, and everything that I've done, today, yesterday, this week, that's all going to float to the top. If I want to search for certain component types, like maybe custom objects and fields, I can drill down into those and select the metadata that I've made changes to. And of course, it's that metadata that fulfills the requirements for this user story. So after I've selected all of my changes, what I can do then is just click on this Commit Changes button, and Copado is going to pop me back to the user story. But in the background, we're automatically going to be creating a feature branch in the Git repository, taking that work and committing it into that branch, and then logging those activities here too against the user story for transparency and for visibility. So I can see the various commits that may take place over a period of time while you're working on your feature or this application here, as well as a running list of all of the metadata that I have linked to this user story. Now, before I deploy this user story, there could be various methods of testing that I want to engage with, and management may want to actually enforce to make sure that the quality of my changes is really high and it's not going to break anything upstream. I have various buttons on my UI that I can click here, like validating the changes, a formal code review process or approval here with a pull request, Apex tests, static code analysis, compliance scans, and so on. And the results to all of those different scans and runs are going to be logged here against the user story as well. And so I can always click in and see the quality of these runs, and again, enforce and mandate that the proper tests are actually run before this user story is even able to be deployed anywhere in the first place. Now, coming back to this pipeline manager, let's say that I'm ready to orchestrate a release of a number of these user stories, right, or these metadata containers from one environment to the next. Well, I can see here very easily on my screen that there are 8 of these user stories that are ready to be deployed from Dev1 up into integration. There's 6 of them that are already sitting in integration, and I could click in here, view those, push those up to UAT and so on. But let's say that as an individual working in Dev 1, I'm going to click on this forward 8 and pass it up to integration for the release manager ultimately to take from that point forward. Here I have all the user stories that I've been working on, and I can determine which of these I want to hold back, which of these I want to continue deploying forward, and then just click on this blue button. All the proper Git operations are automated for me. We build the package XML deployment and propagate that up to the next environment while updating the integration branch as well. If there happen to be any merge conflicts, then we're going to provide you with an intuitive UI like this that both admins and developers can use for resolving those conflicts. And we can even view this in a YAML format and remove those XML tags to make it even simpler in determining the differences between these files. Now, we've talked about pushing these changes upstream, which is great in terms of releasing to production, but oftentimes developers and admins have issues keeping all their environments in sync with one another. And that's why we're also going to be calculating and monitoring if you're behind on any changes that have come from your peers. And so, again, acting as the developer or admin that's in charge of the Dev 1 sandbox, I can see that I'm 3 user stories behind on the latest changes. And if I click in here, I can see those, and then in one more click, synchronize my org. Now, last thing here is I've shown this all manually, but we can also orchestrate all of this through continuous integration and continuous delivery. And this is one of the areas too where Snowflake becomes so important to us. If I click on configure pipeline, this pops me into the various behaviors for each environment, whether I want automated deployments forward, scheduled deployments backward, or automated or manual, as well as the different quality gates that may take place. And if I click in, I can configure all sorts of various quality gates, pre and post deployment steps, and Snowflake is capturing all of this information and analyzing it and providing really important core pillars to DevOps Analytics metrics at the very tail end here. And so I'm going to pass it over to Gloria, who can walk us through what we're doing explicitly with Snowflake.
Thanks, Kevin. So as Kevin had explained, Copado has a very intuitive UI to manage all of your environments with the pipeline manager, as well as everything starts at the core, which is the user story. What we see here is our DevOps Analytics, which are powered with Snowflake and Tableau. And so all the data, with the movement of the stories, the metadata that was being committed, whatever's moving up the pipeline, we're tracking all of that data here in Snowflake. And from Snowflake, we're then surfacing the data with a visualization tool called Tableau, which is actually included in a Lightning Web component within the Salesforce UI. So think about our end users, which are these developers, admins, and perhaps business stakeholders. They actually do not need to leave the Salesforce UI to be able to see these analytics, which is what makes our product so cool. So here with DevOps Analytics, you're able to begin to see analytics on all of the movement of your metadata through the pipeline. So how many deployment attempts did you have? What is your overall lead time, which is the time that it takes from the time the story is ready to be committed to the time that it's actually promoted to a production environment? How many promotions do you have on average? So what is your frequency of deployments to a production environment? And then how large are those promotions, which we're able to see here on average, we have about 81 or 82 metadata items. So that can tell you the size of your promotions. Now I'll zoom in here, which, and this is one of my favorite graphs here, which is the deployment attempts chart. What we're doing here is we're aggregating every unique combination of source and target environment. And so what we're doing is calculating how many promotions do you have, how many deployments do you have, how many failed attempts, and then how many manual steps. In turn, we're giving our users a success rate. So now imagine as a release manager, when you're getting ready to release your stories, you're able to take an educated guess based off of the data that you see here on what your success rate is when you deploy from one environment to another. And Snowflake is helping us accomplish all of this. Now, on the left, we have what we call a deployment complexity chart. This is a bubble chart, and we're able to see across the board all of our promotions. And you'll see we actually do a pretty good job with our promotions in this environment. But how large are they, and how successful are you in getting those through to a production environment? Now, the colors indicate the number of attempts. And so what we're able to see is, as your promotions get larger, is it harder to deploy? Do you have more attempts? Do you have a greater number of attempts? And does the size of those promotions, which is the metadata components that are in those promotions, does that impact your success rate or your attempts? Now, next, what we have on our suite of analytics is actually a chart which can, this is my favorite chart, which can give you the state of the union on your development. So what exactly are you developing? And so what we're doing here is, you'll see a tree map. We are aggregating all of the information related to your user stories, and specifically the metadata files that are attached to those stories. So we actually get down to the file level here. And what you're seeing is a grouping of these metadata files based off of the number of times that they were promoted. So in this tree map here, I see our metadata files grouped by category, which is what the colors indicate. And the size of the squares actually adjust based off of the number of times that you have promoted them. And so I'm able to very quickly see, what are we spending our time on? And so these categories are all interactive. Let's say I'm a developer, and so I can go ahead and click on, let's say I'm a data analyst. I can go ahead and click on data, and I can go to database here, and you'll see that these types automatically adjust as I select them. Now, what's happening behind the scenes is we're drilling into all of the metadata files. So here I'm selecting custom field, and custom field is actually a metadata type on the Salesforce platform. It indicates a field that you see on a layout. And I see that the most promoted field is actually our description field. And I can go ahead and hover and see which fields we're promoting the most often. So I see status, I also see type. And so I'm able to really quickly see where are we spending our time. Now, I can apply the same logic to code as well. So if I were a developer and I wanted to focus on all the code that we were promoting with Copado, I could take a look at, let's say, our Apex classes, our Visual Force pages, our Lightning Web components, and where we're spending our time. So here you'll see we spend a lot of time promoting our deployment static resource. Now, all of this data is filtered, so you can filter by project, by team. And so if you're using Copado for your agile management or agile planning, you can actually filter all of this data based off of your, epic, team, theme, project. Now, what we're also seeing with this development data is overall, how many pull requests do you have that are merged versus opened? And of those open pull requests, which ones are needing action? So we're actually taking data also from Git and taking a look based off of the providers that we have, taking a look at the pull requests that are open and the review records against those pull requests that are open, and being able to provide a recommendation to our customers of, hey, you've got 24 pull requests open, and of those, these need some sort of action. And so you're able to then get into the Copado platform and take action on those pull requests. Now, I'll move over to our planning dashboard, which covers analytics on planning. And here you're able to see, planned work over time, a burn up chart, what your team is working on in terms of investigations versus stories versus tech debt versus bug fixes. You're able to see your active sprints and then compare, how much carryover do you have in each sprint? So we all know work gets pushed over to the next sprint every time you start a new release cycle. And so here you're able to quantify, what percentage of my sprints are actually carrying over. And we tie this all back with an overview dashboard where you're able to see an overview of your DevOps team. So how often are you deploying to your production environment, which means how often are you delivering value? And you want to make sure that that's trending up. your lead time. On average, how long does it take to get things delivered to production? Your change fail rate. So how often are you introducing risks or failures? And so imagine if you worked for a company like Delta Airlines, right? If you had a change fail rate of, let's say, 2 to 3%, that means on average 2 to 3% of the time you do a release, you are actually causing some type of downtime or business disruption. And at a company like Delta Airlines, that's a huge impact on the business, and there's a cost. So we're now being able to provide these analytics to our DevOps teams, right? So that they can move from really being seen as a cost center to a value center. So they can now say, we have this change fail rate, but we were actually able to recover in X amount of time. And that's what you're able to get with your recovery time. How fast did you recover from that failure? And then overall, you're able to see your work in progress and then your distribution of work delivered. So what percentage of that was new features versus bug fixes versus tech debt. So that covers our analytics suite. I hope it was helpful for you all to see how we're using Snowflake. I don't think that any of this would have been possible without Snowflake. And given the complexity that we have and the data that we're working with, we're actually able to reference, over 10 relationships in terms of objects, which is not possible with standard Salesforce reports and dashboards. And so we're really able to, take a deeper look into our deployment data and give our customers something that's consumable and easy to understand.
Exciting. It's pretty cool to see how comprehensive this dashboard is, and kind of all the information that you're able to glean leveraging Snowflake. When and how did you first learn about Snowflake as part of this process?
So where I had worked previously, prior to Copado, I was actually introduced to Snowflake. I had a former colleague that joined the Snowflake team actually to run the Alliances program. And so I had seen a lot about the products, heard a lot of buzz on social media, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. And so when I joined Copado back in 2019, I knew that Snowflake would be a good fit for our data platform, just given what I had heard from the field. And the analytics product that we were trying to build was very complex at the time. We're talking about, 20 to 30 objects and having to draw a conclusion from, one relationship to another. And so I knew that Snowflake would have been able to support that. I think also the time to value. When we heard about Snowflake and how quickly some of your customers were able to get started and go live, that's really what compelled us to get more interested in your platform and hear more about it.
Cool. So, during your process there of, starting to leverage Snowflake, what was the decision-making criteria that you used? Did you have like a kind of a proof of concept phase, or what was your process in that decision-making?
We absolutely did. And the Snowflake team was so supportive of that, because it's really hard to make a business decision, based off of looking at demos. And so we were actually able to do a extended trial with the Snowflake team. We trialed out the product. We did a lightweight proof of concept, and the level of support that we got from the Snowflake team really helped us stand up a quick POC to be able to show the value to our business stakeholders. And that really helped make the case. Now, in terms of what was important to us and what we were evaluating, security was number one, security and compliance. We're going through the FedRAMP process ourselves. And so we understand how important that is to our customers. And we wanted a really secure and compliant platform. I think also time to value. We were looking for something that would give us the scale that we needed, but also get quick to the market. And being on the product team, something that's really important to us from a product perspective is you come up with an idea and you ideate on something, and you need to be able to get to the market pretty quickly compared to your competitors. And Snowflake really helped us accomplish that.
That makes a lot of sense. So, at the end of the day, why did you choose Snowflake over something else?
We really see Snowflake, in terms of how fast you can scale with the Snowflake platform, and also how easy it is to use Snowflake. We have a ton of new hires that we've brought on that are helping us on the Snowflake team that we're able to get quickly ramped up. I firmly believe that Snowflake and Copado together is the next generation of the Salesforce DevOps Analytics suite. And we knew that building on Snowflake would be the best option for powering the engine that optimizes Salesforce projects at scales and those digital transformations. So with the faster time to value, with the security, with the compliance, we were able to go to market with what we think is the #1 DevOps analytics product for the Salesforce platform in less than 6 months. And that's from the time of product definition to the time of delivery. And I think that can speak volumes to why we chose Snowflake is that time frame, 6 months. It's unheard of. It typically takes companies 2 to 3 years to release a product. And so that's really why we chose you all. And I really do think you all are, best in the market when it comes to our data needs.
That's exciting. That's exciting. And totally agree. I mean, it definitely that the time to market is a big deal. So Gloria, Kevin, where and how can our viewers today, if they want to learn more about Copado, if they want to connect with you on a more personal basis, where can they follow you online and where can they learn more about Copado?
Kevin, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I would push people directly to the website at copado.com. There's a number of various resources there, and we can get you connected with a sales engineer to talk about your specific pain points for Salesforce DevOps and how Copado can help.
And if you're interested in some of the analytics products and what we showed you today on the demo, we've got a Copado Academy and a document site as well, Copado Docs. You can actually on the Academy register as a user in our success community. You can create your own playground and actually test out Copado in your own org for free for 30 days. And you can actually hear more about our analytics offering on our website, as Kevin had mentioned. And within the Academy, we have a handful of modules as well, which can walk you through that.
Thanks. And my name is Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake. If you want to learn more about the Powered by Snowflake program, be sure and check out our partner portal at snowflake.com/partners. Also, don't forget to check out our community site at community.snowflake.com. And if you want to build your own application with Snowflake, check out developers.snowflake.com. Thanks, folks. See you next time.